I have a story. I have a little story for you guys. It's one of those little stories that make this me very angry. It's one of those little stories. Now, how will I start this? Let me think. There was a young lady, a young wahine, and she lived in a city, big city, like they have big cities overseas, and this young lady lived there like millions and millions of people do in those big cities. And she, this young wahine, just like any one of us, was existing in herself, was a little whānau in a city overseas. And it was back in those days when they had lockdowns in the coronavirus, right? Like full-on lockdowns to shut this fucking bug out of our lives. And this young wahine, she left her mate's place one night. It was about just after 9 o'clock, and she's walking home. It's about 2.5 k's, and she's walking along. It's like pretty much like in the city area, like a really nice suburb or whatever. In the city area suburb, but it was a well-used area, like well lit, everything else. Anyways, this young wahine, this young woman, was heading home. And as she's walking along towards her place, steadily, a car pulls up. And it gets up onto the pavement and pulls up in front of her. And this young woman's like, oh my God, what's this? And the next thing, this guy hops out and he starts walking up. And it's a police officer. And this cop walks up to this young lady and goes, hello, love. Could I see you to my ID, please? And this young wahine says, yes, officer, of course, and opens up her purse and takes out her ID and shows this cop. And this cop takes her ID and goes, okay, Sarah, is it? Well, look, Sarah, I have some bad news. And the cop goes, look, Sarah, this is unfortunate, but you're in breach of the new COVID regulations for isolation and movement at night times. And Sarah's like, what do you mean? I know what those rules are. We've been doing this for ages now. They haven't changed, have they? And the cop goes, look, it is unfortunate, but the new ones have come in only in the last couple of days. But the department, the Met, has souped it up heaps that we have to enforce it. And that meant that from today onwards, we have to arrest anyone that's out past a certain hour at night. And Sarah's like, what? But I've seen like lots of people walking around, and this cop's like, yeah, and most of them will be picked up too, but there's a lot of undercovers there as well because we've got to stop this thing from getting... It's just like, that doesn't make sense. And he goes, look, it's just the law, Sarah. It's just the law. And Sarah's like, oh, I can't believe this. So what? Look, I just live around the road. Let me go home and I'll be off the street. And the cop goes, look, it's unfortunate, Sarah, but I have to place you under arrest. And Sarah's like, what? What are you talking about? And he goes, it's the law. It's unfortunate, but as an officer, I have to enforce it. I apologize. If you didn't hear the messages or the updates, but that's got nothing to do with me. There's something to do with the judge, but I've got to take you under arrest now. If you could accompany me back to my car. And Sarah's like, no, wait a minute. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to ring up my dad. I'm going to ring up my mātua, my parents. I'm sure we can get this sorted. And this cop's like, look, here, give us that, and takes a phone and then says, you are under arrest. Do you understand? This is serious. Now turn around and put your hands up. And Sarah is like, oh my God, and turns around, the hands up, and he puts the cuffs on her, and then this police officer walks Sarah back to his car and opens the back door and puts her in, and then closes the door and then hops into the front seat, the driver's seat, shuts his door, and then pulls off and steadily drives out into that nighttime in that little city called London. And young Sarah, well, she's in the back of this D car, and they're cruising on down the road, and she can't believe what's happening, and says to the cop, look, there's my place right there. You could have just dropped me off. And the cop, he doesn't say anything. Then the cop tells Sarah, hey, Sarah, could you be quiet, please? I've got to make a call through to Central. And Sarah doesn't say anything. Then the cop pulls out his cell phone and raises it up to his ear and says, this is Officer Cousins, come in Central. It's dead quiet in the car because, Sarah's trying to hear what is being said from the other side of the phone. But then Officer Cousins states, "What do you mean there's no room at booking? Where do I go then?" Sarah keeps dead quiet. Then Officer Cousins goes, "But that's bloody miles away. Betham." And Sarah's thinking, what the fuck? Betham? That's like an hour away. Then Officer Cousins goes, "Well, if I have to, Sarge, I will. Over and out." And immediately Sarah goes, "Officer Cousins, are you telling me now we have to drive like an hour to Betham?" And Officer Cousins goes, Oh, did you hear that?" And Sarah goes, "Answer me, please." And Officer Cousins says, "Look, it is unfortunate, Sarah, but please, every other booking station from here to Betham is COVID restricted. Like I said, but we stepped up the breaches and lockups, bringing people like yourself in, and so there's all these people there. So they're full. It is unfortunate, and I apologise, but I have no say in the matter." And Sarah says, "I can't believe this is happening. I haven't even had dinner." And Officer Cousins keeps driving on down that road. Cousins pipes back up and says, "Look, I am sorry, Sarah, for what's happened. It's just the law and that he has to do his job." And he says to Sarah, "Look, I know that really doesn't matter or anything, but I am sorry, truly." And Sarah goes, "Okay, it's your job. I understand. I just didn't know." And Officer Cousins goes, "Yeah, I know. It's kind of ridiculous, really, expecting everyone to know whether or not they've broken it, you know?" And young Sarah thinks to herself, "Oh, maybe this cop isn't such a bad guy after all." Now, roughly about 25 minutes passes, and they're still driving. They're making small talk every now and again. Sarah asks the questions, "Wayne," because now he's already told her his first name, so they're on now a first name basis. And he goes, "Yes, Sarah." And she goes, "Wayne, are we there yet?" And Officer Cousins goes, "No, it's about another 15 minutes. Now, it wasn't much long later when Officer Cousins says, "Sarah?" "Yes, Wayne." "Sarah, do you know what irony is?" "I think so." "Why, Wayne?" "Because of the situation you're in." "Sarah, what do you mean, Wayne?" And Officer Cousins says, "If those people didn't want me to do this, Sarah, didn't want you to be here, then none of us would be here." "What people?" Sarah says. "Who are you talking about, Wayne?" "The people in the meeting, Sarah." And Sarah says, "What meeting, Wayne? What are you talking about?" "The meeting, Sarah. The meeting that they called to discuss what happened. The big people. Those people, Sarah." And Sarah, confused, says, "Who?" "The ones in charge." Sarah, "In charge of what, Wayne?" "The police, Sarah. The Met. Those people." "Listen, I don't understand what you're talking about, Wayne." And Officer Cousins says, "Sarah, if they didn't want me to do this, then they would have said so. They would have stopped me years ago, but they didn't." "Stop you years ago for what?" Sarah says. "For sexually assaulting women. Some girls as well, actually." And Sarah in the back seat in handcuffs says, "That's not funny, Officer Cousins." And Officer Cousins says, "No, think about it, Sarah. I'm not crazy. Think about it. I was committing sex crimes, like heaps of them, before I was a cop. I was doing heaps of sick shit, downloading stuff and cat burglaries, heaps of crimes. And I thought at the very start, at the first stages, I thought, I'm going to get busted, but I didn't. I got away with it, Small stuff, sick stuff, small stuff. But then I thought, well, at what stage could I get to, and get away with it? And I just kept getting away with it, Sarah. And then I thought, whoa, these cops are okay with me doing it. And then I had this really crazy idea about joining the police force. And I thought, wow, I'll join the Met. I'll join the police force, because if they're going to let me away with it, then be a cop. I'll give them a hand. And then I joined the police force. And I thought, okay, I feel that urge again. So I started doing sick shit again, Sarah. Like real sick shit to people. And I wasn't getting busted. I wasn't getting arrested. I wasn't getting charged. I wasn't even getting talked to. I wasn't even getting told off. I would commit these crimes, Sarah. And then the next day, just go back to work. Just go back to being a cop. And nothing. Not a thing. They were letting me do it. They not only were allowing me to do it, Sarah, they want me to do it. I'm not crazy. They want me to do it. Look, just within the last 2 days, I have committed sexual assaults against women in my community, against a couple of schoolgirls as well. Like, just before I come and got this car to come and get you. And nothing, Sarah, nothing. And they must have had me on camera at McDonald's. They must have had me on camera. And I was driving my car, my own car. They must have known it was me, Sarah. So they want me to do this to you. Sarah, I'm not crazy, Sarah. Because how else would you explain it? Wayne, you're insane. They don't want you to kill me. That's crazy talk, Wayne. Then explain it, Sarah. Explain why nothing. Not even a stern word. Explain it then, Sarah. And Sarah says, I can't. I don't know. But someday someone will, and they'll fix it. So people like you, Wayne, don't exist in the police force. Yeah, well, that's a nice dream, Sarah. A nice dream. A little while passes, and Sarah breaks the silence and says, Wayne, do you know what aroha is? No. What is it? Officer Cousin says, it means love. It means true love, Wayne, in its purest form. And I am sorry, Wayne. I am sorry that you never got to feel that kind of aroha, that kind of love. I don't need it. I don't need that. Officer Cousins replies. And that's the irony about it, Wayne. What? What's ironic about that? Well, Wayne, you see, how you say you're going to get away with everything, the thing is that aroha, that mai matua, my mum and dad have for me, Wayne, that aroha, that love, will be your downfall. Oh yeah? Wayne says, Sarah, in today's time, with news moving so fast, you can't even remember what bad things happened last week. And it just becomes a blur, just like what will happen with you, Sarah. No one's going to miss you, Sarah. No one. You'll be yesterday's news by tomorrow. I would say to you, Sarah, the words, you'll see. But unfortunately, you won't. That love, Wayne, that true love, that aroha, that mai matua, my whānau, my mum and dad, my whānau have for me, Wayne, that goodness, that greatness, of that purity of true love, aroha, that good will triumph over evil. Nothing evil can ever beat that kind of goodness, Wayne. What you'll also see, Wayne, since I won't be here, that you will see that my people, Londoners, Englanders, the UK, everyone around the world, Wayne, those people, all of them, will show I matter, Wayne. I matter. And Officer Cousins looks back at Sarah as he's driving along down that road and says, well, look who's crazy now, Sarah. Look who's saying crazy stuff now. And Sarah leads forward from the back seat, gets up closer to Officer Cousins and says just two everyday words. You'll see. As Officer Cousins smirks and keeps driving on down that road. We're almost there, Officer Cousins says. We're almost at this stage. What stage? Sarah quips back. What stage? Officer Cousins says, weren't you listening? I thought you were listening. This stage of my fantasy, Sarah, the end stage for you. And for me, well, you'll just be number one. You'll be one of many, Sarah. Just one of many. And those people in that meeting in about a week's time, that's all about you. Those people in that meeting that want me to do this, Sarah, are going to want me to do many. You're just one of many, Sarah. And Sarah says back, Wayne, didn't you hear me? I thought you were listening. And Officer Cousins says, what? And Sarah says, you'll see. Then Officer Cousins pulls the car up into a driveway near some old rundown warehouses and says to Sarah, we're here. The final stage, Sarah. Wayne opens the door and starts to get out, and Sarah says, Wayne. Officer Cousins slides back down into his driver's seat and says, yes, Sarah. Wayne, will you tell my parents, my matua, my mum and dad, My whānau, will you tell them, Wayne, please? Will you tell them that I love them, that I have such aroha for them, and that I will see them again when they get here? But tell them, Wayne, tell them to live long and be happy in knowing that their love, that their aroha, that I will feel it, even in heaven, that I will feel the strength of that aroha. Will you tell them that, Wayne? And that I will see them again, and that I love them so very much. Will you do that for me, Wayne? Will you tell them, please? And Officer Cousins says back to Sarah, of course, Sarah, I will. That is, if I get caught. But you see, I won't, because the people in that meeting that's coming up in about a week, those people in that meeting want me to do this, Sarah. So I'm not going to get caught. But if I do, I give you my word, I will. Then Officer Cousins gets out of the car and opens up Sarah's door, and Sarah says to Officer Cousins, do you promise me, Wayne? Do you promise that you'll tell my parents that I love them? And Officer Cousins looks at Sarah in the back seat of that car with his handcuffs on and says, of course, Sarah, I promise. And you can trust me, Sarah. And Sarah says, how? And Officer Cousins goes, because I'm a policeman, Sarah. Because I'm a policeman. Kia ora. G'day guys, my name is DC Admin. I'm actually the creator over at the main channel of ours called Dumb Criminal. If you like this video and its style, then there's heaps of other videos on our main channel. This one here, well, we'll put it up because I'm running some research to see whether or not this algorithm thing really does work. But if you like it, if you like this stuff, then you'll love my other stuff. Anyway, check it out. Stay safe and I'll see you guys over there, hopefully.